Well, we're talking about the dummy. Many people use the dummy to try and beat up. That doesn't work. But as part of the syllabus where you do Shulamtel, Chumkyu, Buji, then the dummy. For many years I've known that the dummy was taught alongside the second form, which makes sense. So the dummy form as such it's not a separate form, it's basically practicing the techniques that are involved in Shulamtel, Chumkyu, and Buji. But we are looking at progress. We are looking at what we're getting to understand using the dummy is this reactant energy. What happens when you hit something? The wall bags give us this, so what you're getting is when you hit something, so you get a feeling of hitting something, you get a reactant energy down to the heel, so you get a feeling down to the floor. Now what we're looking at is an understanding of when we're using Ganser, Jamster, Towster, Topster. You get a feeling of what happens when you hit something solid, and the muscles that you're using from the floor, and how those energies come back through the body. So you learn to go through the contact. This is where it's my personal view. I mean, that prior to Hong Kong, Japan going to Hong Kong, the Wing Chun dummy was always known as what was called like a dead dummy. It was planted in the ground, and so it was much more solid. So when people bump, you don't get this spring or so-called live dummy. But I think this is a benefit, because what you're after is you need to have, like you have with the ball bag, the feeling of hit, carrying on and penetrating through. So what you're looking at, it's not solid, that's why again the arms have a slight movement. So when you hit them, there is a movement. When you hit the dummy, there is some movement that you hit beyond the surface. And you're not learning just to go and stop, and stop, and stop, and top. You're learning to hit and go beyond the surface. So that, and you get a feeling from the point of contact through the body down to the heel. And this is what's important. So we're looking at getting this feel of what's happening, this reaction. This is what's missing with a lot of, if you focus mid-training, with a lot of other training is the fact that you're just punching an open air, you're not using a wall bag, you're not getting a feel of an impact. And so you're not training the muscles to actually have knowledge of what happens when you hit something solid. To me, this is an important part of understanding technique, of transferring energy. So you have to have a feel of hitting into something solid, to train the muscles, to train your brain, to train your body, to train yourself, to go beyond the point of contact. So what we're looking at again, we're looking at distances. Again, we're looking at a basic stance that we'll be doing from Shulamtel or Chumkyu. To be in a range where with straight arms you can put your palm straight on. So with a straight arm, that's the distance that we're looking that you want to be at. You don't, I've seen people that set up here, they lean in and then lean back out again. What's the point? So get to a position where you're in a stance and you can now stretch your arms. And this is what we're looking, the position to be in. So we're going to reach the dummy. Because when we're coming in, when we're turning, we're going to be moving into the dummy so our hands can go beyond the dummy, beyond the surface. So we're looking to hit and penetrate. Hit and then be able to penetrate. So we're simply using the dummy as a tool. There's nothing weird or wonderful, there's nothing magical or mystical about the dummy, it's just a lump of wood. It helps to position the arms, it helps to position your feet, it helps the movement around the dummy. So these are all aspects of basic technique, basic structure, basic function, basic stances, basic movements. It's about the basics. To get a feel and a flow around, you want to try to stick to the dummy. You're trying to, again, hold on to the principles of Chiso. You're trying to stick to the dummy up. But I said earlier on, you're not trying to beat the dummy up. The dummy will always win. This first part to me is out, and back is an area where, again, I thought about it. It's not something that I've been taught, but it's something that this whole idea of using coming inside the arms and the neck grab to pull, to me it's too complicated, it's too advanced, because it's the first thing you're learning on the dummy. So my thinking is, what is the first thing I need to learn how to do in a fight? And this is where we're looking at the entry techniques. We're looking at the man cell. So what I'm actually doing is I'm coming in with a man cell. And the other side of what we're looking at, so at this point where we're looking at a man cell, I've got my stance, I have my man cell comes out. Now there's two possibilities if I use a man cell coming out. The first possibility is that somebody will stop it. So I stick to the arm that stops me, stay with what comes. The other option is that I don't get stopped and the hand goes through. So this would be going to a strike. So I'll be either out of contact with an arm or I'll be struck into a person. From this point here, this is where I'm doing either a neck pull and either a lap or a jut. Because this can be that inside or outside arm. It doesn't really make any difference. We're not trying to make a strict application for here. What I was saying is if this could be a right or a left arm, we coming into it. It doesn't make any difference. The fact is my man cell is going out towards my opponent. If the arm stops it, I stick to it and I lap or dip on the arm. If my hand goes all the way through and I go to strike, I will then grab the head to pull onto another technique, or just to disrupt, to kick, or whatever, I don't know. These are for later investigations outside the form and understanding what can happen, the possibilities. But the first possibilities of contact are either you will be stopped by somebody, your opponent's arm, or you won't be stopped by their arm. And that's how I look at that opening part of the form. It's just simple, it's an entry technique. So I enter in, I enter in again. This time I'm not stopped by the arm, so I turn and use a pulling energy. The next position is the bomb cell. From the bomb cell, again, you just place the bomb cell there, because it's not about, again, using the bomb cell. It's about being in a bomb cell position where you've used a technique. I think of this more as a man cell type position, almost from an entry technique. From an entry technique, I found that I have the contact from here. I go to control with the tan, leg control, and the hand can be striking. So from here, from making a contact, if it's from on the outside of my arm, I will use the tan, circle the leg in to control the opponent's leg, and be striking high or low. So now we've got a position where it's simple. If I enter in and I feel somebody's arm here, I can control them with a tan and strike and control the leg. Once I've hit them, they will move, or they should. So once you've hit somebody and they've moved, you've now got to find them again. And this is where we're coming into the Ganser. So from here, out. I come back to the Ganser. From the Ganser, I go to the Quanser. The Quanser, to me, this is, I've explained this before, but the Quanser to me is like a bouncer where the bomb that would be a bomb is met something low. So then the hand comes out from the Tanser. So I'm looking to go to a bouncer, but my arm gets stopped in a low bomb position, and the what would be a Wusao comes out towards my opponent is a Tanser. The Ganser was an empty technique. So basically what I'm looking at from the other side, from here, once I hit somebody and knock them away, I find them again. So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at finding, we're looking at entry techniques, we're looking at them from the third form, we're looking at the double Ganser is an entry technique, is a defensive entry technique. We've got from using the Manso as an offensive entry technique, from a position, hands out, strike, control, so fighting again with a Ganser. So now we're doing it from a Quanser position. From here, I just change, so I'm placing my hands here. So from here, in a Quanser position, I do the same thing again, hand, arm, and control. So this is saying that if somebody's coming in with a lower strike, and my bong stops it from here, and I use my tan to cover, I will use, my bong will then change the control, circle, and that. So we're looking at using the tan, so it's a tan, understanding a tan whether it's on a bong or a con. So there's the same thing. This is how my way of thinking is trying to keep it simple, so we're going back to the basics of it. We're not waiting to see, we're not trying to, oh, I want to do a Quanser this time. You're not wanting to do anything, it's what your opponent does that makes you end up in a certain situation. And it's got to be simple, it's got to be straightforward, it's got to be obvious, and nothing fantastic and mystical. Manso is an entry technique, switch it on. Manso out, pull. Place the bouncer, circle, control, hands out, palm. Bend the arms again. From a Quanser, it's the same thing. Control, palm, then control the leg. Again, I've hit him, so you move, I've got to find these arms again. When I find these arms, what I'm looking at now is using the counter, or I think more just the Hunsao, with a Toxo energy to control them, and then adjust with a palm to finish them. So this is where we're finding this, what we're talking about in the third form of this, the Manso finding, an entry technique to find, the Chisao techniques to control, and your hitting techniques to finish. So I'm finding, controlling, and finishing. Manso, body of the arm, pull. From a bouncer position, cover. Once you've hit somebody, find them again. From the Quanser, control it.